Hello, you guys. I haven't done one of these videos in a while, so hello. Now, I am absent on Monday, May 24th, so I am going to explain your assignment to you. You're going to start with this do now. I'd like you to think of any ways that Manchester is different from Hartford, Bolton, and East Hartford. Those are towns that are very close to us. So you'll see on the right side of your slide, you have an area that says type response here with sentence starters. So start with this. Now, this lesson is going to be introducing population density to you. We looked at a population density of Japan last week when we did the thematic map activity. And to review, population density is the average number of people who live per square unit of area. That might be miles or kilometers. So I talked about with a lot of you how if we drew a square that was a mile in each direction in the town of Manchester, the population density would be the average number of people who live in that square. We discussed how cities have very high population densities because there's people living very closely together. And we discussed how rural areas, I think we talked about Wyoming in some classes, have people living very spread out. That would be low population density. And I have this visual for you to think about this. The dark green areas have high population density. We see lots of people living in those little spots. And then the light green areas have low population density. Notice that people are more spread out. I also have a little example here. The population density of Manchester, Connecticut is 2,133 people per square mile, and Coventry, town I grew up in, it's about 2 towns away, is only 333 people per square mile. Now, that's not saying that that is how many people live in every square mile of those towns, but it is an average, and that's how a lot of geographers measure population density with averages. So on slide 6, I have an inference question for you. Inferencing is when we make a guess based off of what we know and what we can see. So think about what factors might influence population density. Why might lots of people live very closely together in some areas, but in other areas people live very spread out? And I'd like you to think of 3 factors. Once you're done with that, time for part 1. This is a little map analysis. So I have given you a physical and population density map of China and a physical and population density map of Japan. On slide 10, I'd like you to answer these 2 questions using those maps. First, on the left, is population density high or low in areas of high elevation? So that would be mountains, right? And why do you think that is? Your second question is why might population density be higher next to bodies of water, ocean, rivers, etc.? Now, the big part of this assignment today is part 2. You are going to read a bunch of different statements and indicate whether you strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree with them. I'm going to do the first one for you as an example, but you might disagree with me, so you kind of have to do it on yourself. So the statement says, because the human population will soon reach 8 billion people, so that's for the whole Earth, we must cut down the rainforest to expand land available for living. So I personally am going to drag the check over to strongly disagree because I personally strongly disagree with that statement. I think there is alternatives to cutting down the rainforest, such as building more apartment buildings where people can live. But you might agree with this. You might say, yeah, well, you know what? We need that land. So you're going to put the check where you think it should go. And then over here where it says explain your stance, you're going to explain why you put the check where you did it. So I personally would say I strongly disagree because, and I'm going to say cutting down the rainforest would be detrimental to many endangered species that are necessary, or even say needed, for the health of ecosystems. You might have a very different response to me. That's okay. So you see you have lots of these statements. You're going to do what you just saw me do for each of them. And then the last thing for today is a little exit ticket. How does population density impact people on individual and community levels? So I'm asking you,